Hey everybody, welcome back to the Rebel Chum channel. Today I wanted to bring up something that been asked so many times on my YouTube channel and in the Lightsabers Club Facebook group and on my personal Facebook group as well, is what is the preferred blade that I use. And I got a couple of blades here. We're going to discuss that in a moment. We're going to use the awesome Saber Trio Skylar lightsaber as the saber to showcase the different blades. Let me just pop out the blade block really fast. So for most, what you'll be looking at is either heavy dueling blades, a day blade, or diffuse blades, or trans white blade, I should say. So I got a couple here from different brands, and first want to bring up the common saber from Saberforge. Now, if you buy a Saberforge saber, you get this heavy dueling blade. It has quite a bit of heft to it because the diameter of the blade itself is quite thick, as you can see, meant for heavy dueling, which makes sense. That's why it's called a heavy dueling blade. But what it does, first of all, it adds quite a bit of heft to your hilt, so you really can feel, and this is just a 26-inch Shoto blade, but you already can feel there's a substantial weight to it. One difference as well is the amount of lack of flex, because this is a thick-walled blade. There's no flex, and that really gives a very sturdy feel and look to the blade, because with the other blades I will show you in a minute, there's a lot of flex to it, and you can actually see the inner filament basically bending, and that shows a diffused discolorization of the color inside the blade. So this is a really functional blade. So if you want to do dueling for functional purpose, this is a blade you want to wear on your hilt. But if you want to do cosplay, or you just want to play at home and you just want to have the colors pop out the most, I don't personally think this is the ideal color to choose from. I will show you in a second. So we have the awesome cyan, or light blue for that matter. You guys gonna probably not see it on the camera too well, but what I'm a beef is because of the thickness of the polycarbonate of the blade itself. The thickness is actually taking away some of the brightness. It's not like it's super dull or something, but you can see there's a bit of brightness gone. Plus I can see a little bit of a dead spot here, and that's because the light shines from the LED unit all the way to the tip, where there's a mirrored glass or mirror piece of plastic that shines back the light downwards, and it only goes that far, and most of the time around 5 inches in, it starts to have a darker spot here, and you can see that in videos, you can see it on pictures, maybe not showing up so well now, but normally you can see it a little bit. You see a little bit of a you can see it, a darker bluish here. You see there's a slightly different color of blue, a different shade. It's hard to pick up by the camera. You might see it, it's really hard to see, but it's noticeable. It's noticeable. And also the color is just not so smooth from bottom to top, and there's also a little bit of a base flare here. Really hard to see for you guys probably on the camera, but I can see it. There's a little bit of a base flare. It's bright here, it actually hurt my eyes a little bit, and then it dies out a little bit here. It evens out the light, and then it's just, you know, having that sort of a darker spot here. Now this is a really good saber, as I said, for dueling. So if you need a blade for dueling, you need to get a saber blade like this. You need a thick, heavy-duty blade, and of course your opponent needs to have the same type of blade as well, because if he uses a trans white or a diffuse blade, which is a lot thinner, you will break his or her blade really easily with this heavy-duty blade. So now we're gonna move over to a Vader's Vault diffuse blade. Now this is dubbed as one of the brightest options for a regular blade. The reason why it is brighter is because Vader's Vault roughs up the surface in a vertical direction all the way to the tip, and it gives you this grainy texture all around. You can hear that, that's all scuffed up. And physically if I just look at the blade, I don't like the look of it, to be honest. I just don't like how it looks like. And when I put the blade in there, it's a little bit of a mixed bag for me, to be honest, with these blades. That's just my personal opinion, so don't kill me for that. But when I look at it, I can see where it comes from. Yes, it's brighter because the wall of the blade itself. Let me show that really quick as well. While I was a little bit too quick to do this. Let's see if I can open it. Okay. It's a very, very thin wall with the inner filament. And then just to put it in perspective, with the Saberforce dual blade, you see, that is a lot thicker plastic than this one. It's at least maybe 2 times, almost 3 times as thick, at least 2.5 times thicker in terms of the wall thickness compared to this this version. So I'm just gonna do some swapping between them. But so this is the Vader's Vault diffuse blade, or dual diffuse blade. The inner filament is diffused, and then you have the outer diffused by having that grainy texture on it. Apparently this makes the blade slightly brighter or lighter, and in terms of the color that shines through the blade. But I still feel you can see there's a darker location here, darker spot here. It's quite bright here. I don't have much of the base flare with this hilt. With this blade from Vader's Vault. It's not as bad as with the Saberforce blade, where you have this strong base flare here, but it dies out a little bit towards the middle, where I feel it's a little bit too dull. And maybe it has to do with the mirror that's being used by Vader's Vault. This is I believe a 32-inch length hilt, so of course the hilt length has something to do with it. That's realistically also part of that needs to be factored in. But it's not bad, but it's also a blade that flex very easy because it's so thin. The wall is so thin. You can actually see the inner filament cracking. Yeah, you see it there. Here you can see the inner filament cracking. Looks like some sort of thunder going on. And that's really hard to show up, but I can see a massive amount of inner filament cracking. It's not really cracking, but it's crinkling. So this is not a blade you want to duel with, and you don't want to have a really long diffuse blade as well, because the longer it is, the more flexible the blade is, and it feels really wonky when you do even when you just put it in the hilt. You feel the flex. I can feel the flex. It's just it feels less sturdy. It feels like a little bit floppy, and that have nothing to do with Vader's Vault. It has to do with the fact that this is a diffuse blade. It's just a very thin walled blade. Now my preference actually are these trans white blades. That is my cup of tea. Why I like trans white blades is because the color is equal, very smooth. It's like a milky smooth color for each of the color you selected to. I don't say it's the brightest, but the color gets evened out so nicely and evenly throughout the entire hilt. The base flare is completely gone that I had with the Vader's Vault, and much stronger with the Saberforce blade. But this blade is just very smooth from top to bottom. And this is a blade, in this case, from Saber Trio. Alto Sabers has them as well, and I really enjoy them both from Alto Sabers and Saber Trio. I just like trans white blades. I think they're just magnificent. They're slightly thicker than, for example, the the Vader's Vault blade that you just saw. Sorry, I keep mixing up names now a little bit, so let me see if I can show that up to you guys. So the thickness is there as well, but the smoothness of the colors throughout the entire length of the blade, that is something I absolutely love about these trans white blades. Let me just quickly glance. Yeah, there's a very minor difference in thickness. It's really hard to show off, but you can see the trans white blade on the bottom is slightly thicker in the wall than the Vader's Vault diffuse blade. And so there is a slight brightness difference there, but because the color is so much smoother all around, I just prefer the trans white all around. For cosplay, for playing at home. Of course, this is a very thin saber, or thin blade. It's also not a really perfect blade blade for dueling. You can do some light tapping with it. I feel this is a little bit sturdier and less flexible than the one from that I showed from Vader's Vault, which, by the way, other companies also have their own diffused blades, thin wall blades. I just feel they're too thin. It's just over the border of just too much. And that makes a little bit of too much of a concession for brightness, that it actually negatively impacts my personal experience. Now, if you want to do Dayblade, basically you want to do a troop or a cosplay during the day, I recommend you either get a photon blade, then you have the benefit of making your regular blue inside a photon blade like a super bright acid green, so you have this nice extra color option. If you don't have like an RGB on your saber, in this case this is an RGB, so I set it to light blue, which is a little bit less efficient than the regular blue. If I set to regular blue, this photon blade is a lot brighter, because just the color spectrum of the regular blue versus the mixed color of green and blue in the light blue, that really has a difference in brightness. But yeah, if I don't turn on my saber, it still shows up as an awesome colored green saber. So it still shows as a lightsaber, right? Let's say I'm out of a battery, I'm doing trooping all day, I don't want to have my lightsaber on all day, for whatever reason, then a day blade, or preferably a photon blade, would be the best option. Now, of course, I understand there are off colors beyond just the green for photon, but they're just not as efficient as this photon blade in terms of adding that additional brightness to your lightsaber. But it gives you a pre-colored lightsaber hilt. Sorry, a pre-colored blade. So I think this is a really good option. Now, there also have day blades, and for the day blades I think they're fantastic as well, but they don't give you the added brightness. So if you just want to have a red day blade or purple, then of course Vader's Vault, Saberforge and some other companies can sort you out. This is a photon blade from the Bach store in this case. I really enjoy it, and this is my preferred blade if I go outdoors during the day. I don't want to turn on my saber the whole day, then I just pop in this photon blade, and if I need to make an impression or I need to stand out with my saber for pictures, etc., I turn the saber on the blue color and I have a super bright blade, and that really shows off on the picture. So that is an added value as well, so you can compete more or less with some string-led blades, so you don't fall out of completely, like you look like having a complete dull saber when you're like surrounded by guys or girls that has like string-led blades, because let's be honest, in-hilt LEDs are never as bright as a string-led or was that NeoPixel blade, basically. So yeah, my trench rights blades are the preferred choice of display. Now again, as I said, maybe you might know from a previous video, I'm not really a dueler, so I don't duel too much because I just don't have the people to duel with me, and this is just fantastic. During the day, at night, I have this fantastic looking color, and it doesn't matter what color it is, if it's red, blue, green, purple, whatever, it just looks so smooth, it looks so nice all the way from bottom to tip. It just looks fantastic. It really smooths out the entire color. It makes it maybe a little bit duller. If you really want to have the brightest of the brightest, then then maybe this, for example, this Vader's Vault Diffuse blade is a little bit more for you. But personally, I can see the grainy texture no matter what. If the hilt is on, I can see it. And because it's so thin, I even can see where the filament is cut. I can see the cut lines of the filament that are wrapped inside. I can see it through the blade. I don't like that. So that's why I like this. It's much smoother. I don't see the inner filament at all. There's nothing I can see inside this blade. It just feels and handles fantastic. It's a slightly thicker wall as well, so it doesn't flex as much as with the Vader's Vault. As we have here, it's just yeah, it's just too thin for me. That is just borderline, just over the edge for me. That crossed it a little bit too much for me. Heavy dueling blades, very effective, a good cause for use of course, but the balance is sometimes overthrown, makes it top heavy in the hand, especially with the like a 37 or 40 plus inch length of blades. It just feels so heavy, and I think they're just fantastic for doing what they're supposed to do, and as dueling, hard on smashing and bashing, but the brightness is not per se ideal, the weight is not ideal, but yeah, it doesn't flex, it feels super sturdy, and maybe some people like it. Maybe they just want to have that heavy counterweight of their hilt. Maybe they have like a big hilt, like let's say the Saberforge Juggernaut, or maybe a Ultra Saber's I don't know, Scorpion, the curved hilt. So you need maybe some counterweight because the hilt itself is already very heavy. Now then, in that kind of case, yeah, you might better be off with a heavy dueling blade. But in general, I fell in love with these trans white blades, and it's just really good. And there's also another version of a blade that I don't have here, because my son destroyed it a while ago. That is the Ultra Saber that is silver of color. I think that's just a transparent blade with the actual filament being the reflected filament inside being fully visible without having that diffused. I think that is basically a diffused blade like this, but without the Vader's Fault style of grinding it up. That silver one is also not bad. It's also quite bright, but I feel the color warmth is just a little bit too raw. I mean, it sounds really raw, wrong, right? What is too raw? What I mean with that is just it feels like it's the light out of the LED that is directly shown, whereas with the trans white it's a little bit milky, smoothed out, so the colors feels a little bit softer. Beautiful colors, and that's my personal opinion. It just helps for me. Maybe for you is different, and this is just a video about what is my preferred blade. So I would like to know in the comments what you think is the preferred blade for you. Is it a transparent? Is it a duo diffused? Is it diffused? Is it a day blade? Is it a photon blade? Is it a heavy dueling blade? And if so, which brand do you prefer? Is it a Saberforge, Ultra Sabers, or another brand? Or maybe you completely have a very different type of style and you like maybe a Ripper blade for that matter. So let me know in the comments. I'm very interesting to know how you feel about it. And I will be making more videos about these blades because I got tons and tons and tons of questions about blades. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully see you in the next video, and as always, stay scummy, guys. Have a good one. Bye bye.